Hello everyone, this is Heather and I'm here with this week's episode of Just Print It. It's the final episode, yay! So you have a few days left to enter the giveaway, so please don't forget to check that out. So today I'm creating an art journal page using the whimsical cut apart sheet that I created, and here I'm just taking some of the texture paste from Art Extravagance. It's in the white Crackle, and I'm adding some mist to it. This is the Plain Jane Tattered Angels Teal mist, and I'm just stirring that in. It didn't have quite the bold effect I wanted, so I added a bit of this water-based dye powder, and it is from Nuance. I'll use it several times here. It's a really fun product. And now I'm just going to take a stencil. This is from the Crafter's Workshop, and apply that paste. And I'm really liking this paste. It layers really nicely and it colors nicely with pigments, as you can see, and it has a nice crackle finish. The crackles are quite tiny when you apply it in a thin coat, but in a thicker coat you can see them a bit better, which I like. And I'm just scraping the excess off onto the edges to create a different effect there, and using my finger to add a little bit more into that. And I have a fun technique for you that you may not have seen. I've done it before, so maybe you have, but here I'm just adding some mist, and that is a fun way to kind of let it seep in. And this is the fun part. I'm adding some UTEE embossing enamel, which is ultra thick embossing enamel from Melt Art, and this is in a gold color. And I'm just taking a pinch and sprinkling it into the thicker areas of that paste, and then gently patting it in so that it stays put. And I'm going to let the paste dry fully before I heat emboss this, because I don't want the paste to be heat set, because it'll bubble up and it won't have that nice crackle look. So yeah, that's what's going on there. I'm letting it dry. And now I'm just going to cut out this fun fairy house piece with the antlers, which these fairy houses were inspired by some polymer clay creations that I've made, and I've shared those on my blog in previous posts, but I've yet to do a video about them, so let me know if you're interested. They're quite cute. So anyways, that's where the inspiration came for these. So just a tip on fussy cutting. I know it already passed, but I like to go in a counterclockwise motion because I'm right-handed, and I find that easiest. And good scissors also help. Mine aren't that great, but so now I'm using some distress markers to just color this in. It is just on plain cardstock, so I didn't want to use too much water. These are water-based markers, and they can be blended with water, which is really fun. And the colors I'm using are Tumbled Glass, Faded Jeans, and Pumice Stone. And on those antlers, I just blended a few different colors. I used the darkest Faded Jeans, and then here I'm using just a damp brush to sort of blend it a little bit. And I wanted to add a bit more color because it didn't blend as nicely on this cardstock as I hoped. You'd probably need to add a lot more water. So I'm adding some of the tumbled glass as well to those antlers, and just adding some water to the other areas as well to blend it a little bit. And here again I'm using this Nuance powder pigment. It's from Magenta Style, and you can check out their website at magentastyle.com. This is a new product to me, so I'm having a lot of fun using it. And what I'm doing here is just taking a dry brush. It's important that you don't put a wet brush into the pot, because that will ruin the powder. And now I'm taking my mini mister just with water and spritzing that on top, and it creates a really neat effect. The dye just sort of runs and bursts, sort of like a firework almost. It's a really neat technique. And I got a little too much dye in that one spot on the right side of the house, but I'm just going to dab it, and later on it won't even matter because it'll get covered up a little bit. And I'm trying to use a wet brush just to blend it a little bit. And now I'm just going to add a bit more of that pumice stone distress marker. And that's about it for the coloring on this. It was really fun to do, and I don't color things very often, so I think that's a fun aspect of this printable. You can color them or just use them as a plain outline on some of your pieces. You can use them on layouts if you had something knit related or unrelated. You can use random pieces as well. People are doing that a lot lately. So here I've just found a quote on Pinterest that I like, and you can see I wrote it at the top of that paper. It says, "Different doesn't mean wrong," and I feel like that's appropriate for this whimsical fairy house. So I'm just practicing my brush script here. I wrote out the words in script in pencil first so I could easily follow them, and that usually helps me with my script. I am very new at it, so I don't have many tips for you, but Crafty Jen Scow has a really well, she has a couple or one free technique video on the brush script on her YouTube channel, which I can link to below. But she also has a class which is only $20, and I haven't taken it, but I'm really hoping to in the future because she has such amazing, beautiful script writing. So that's who I'd recommend if you want to learn more. I'm a very new brush script writer person, so I don't have much advice, but here I wasn't too happy with the first try, so I'm just writing it out again, and practice makes perfect. I mean, obviously my second try still isn't perfect, but I was happier with it, just the consistency of the paint and the shape of the letters, so I'm going with that. And here I'm just heat setting it and a little bit on my fairy house as well, and now I'm going to cut these out. So, as I was saying before, good scissors help with fussy cutting. I have Creative Memories ones, and they're pretty old, and they're getting dull, and they have rough spots on the blades. But um, I'm hoping in the future to get new scissors, which I would probably buy the Holtz ones, those ones with the red handles. I don't remember if they have a name. Or Cutter Bee scissors, I've heard are really good for fussy cutting too. They have a short little blade, which is helpful for this type of thing. And if you're left-handed, I don't actually know if they make left-handed versions of those, so I'm interested to know if you are aware of that. I'd like to know. Here I'm just using my vintage photo ink to ink up the edges of these words, and I'm also going to use the Faded Jeans ink to add some color to those as well. And I will also be adding it to the house pretty soon here too. It was just too stark white for an art journal page. One of mine anyways. I like to have layers and layers, and sometimes I get a little too much layering, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm just continuing to add ink here. And now I'm going to use some of this powder and use it as an actual watercolor. So what you can do is just take a bit and put it in your palette. It doesn't take much at all, as you can see. And this pigment is so pigmented, like it's such a strong color. I tested it on this piece of paper and it was way too strong at first, so I had to add more water. And it was even a bit too strong just there, and I kind of smeared the word a bit, but I go over it later, so it's okay. And I'm just adding a bit of that color. I almost wish I did the words in that color because it would have tied in more, but I do use the darker blue on my page, so I tie it in that way. And I'm just splattering some of that paint on top as well. So here my paste has finally dried. I'm an impatient person, but I feel like it's important to wait for this paste to dry. So now I'm just heat setting the powder that I had put into the paste, and I was really impressed. Not much had flown away when I heat set it, so that was really nice, and it had a cool effect too. You could really just use an ink pad after the paste is dry, like a Versamark pad, and add the powder then, but I like doing this technique. It just skips a few steps. So here I'm using the Holtz Distress Stain, and this is in the color Antique Bronze. and it adds a lot of glimmer, which is really nice. And I'm also going to add this powder, which is from Lindy's Stamp Gang. It's a magical, and it's in the color Poicianna Red Flame. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it actually added a lot more red pigment than I had intended, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I mainly wanted the glitter, but that's okay because I work it out in the end. It blends out, and now I'm just adding some dark blue watercolors just to sort of tone down that bright bronze color. And I probably overworked this a bit because now that I'm seeing this now, I really like the colors on this, especially there. But that's okay. It is what it is, and I felt that it didn't go too good with all the blues I had in my fairy house. So now I'm just blobbing some water on there, and I'm going to add more of the Nuance powder. I guess I should tell you what color it is. It is Cerulean blue. It's a really beautiful color. And now I'm just blending that around with a brush and some more water. Sorry, my phone is going off. And blubbing that around with a big brush. A lot of this I can't explain necessarily. I just do it in the moment and play with the products and have fun. So I really suggest that for art journaling. Even if I tried, I couldn't replicate this page. So I think even if you had all the same products, same thing, you would create your own beautiful design. So I think that's important to remember, that art journaling is what you make it, and every page turns out different. Every technique turns out different. So that's actually what I love about it. It's so unique. I'm just adding some of those two distress inks now to the page because I wanted it to be a bit more blue tone under here. And I'm liking how that's looking, turning a lot more blue now to go with my fairy house. And I should maybe mention those cardboard pieces that you see with all the gloss splattered on them. That is just so I try to limit the products from getting on other pages, and I feel like that helps me a lot. As you can see, it catches a lot of stuff over time. So here I'm just using some tacky glue and smearing it a bit around with a brush so that it doesn't ooze out, and that worked really well to glue onto all these mediums, which I like. So I'm doing that with the words as well. And as I mentioned before, these printables are versatile. You can cut out the little arrows, use them black and white on a layout. The wings that I created are sort of the right size to add to the houses if you wanted, similar to how this one is designed with the antlers. That's what I had been thinking anyway, and I think it'd just be really fun to use these. I'm looking forward to trying to incorporate them on some layouts and cards even. Now I'm just using more of that texture paste and adding it with my finger. I really like this product layered, as I said before, so adding more and more layers is really fun, but I am pretty impatient, so I have to wait for it to dry. But magically, now it's dry. So I'm just going to add some more watercolor on top of that, and it sort of brings out the crackles a little bit, but not enough, so I added some ink as well. First I'm going to heat set that. And here comes the ink in the Faded Jeans color. And I'm almost wrapping up. All I have left to do is add some watercolor splatters, I think. So thank you guys so much for visiting. Thank you for sticking with me throughout this series. And I'm looking forward to seeing any more final submissions you have. The deadline for submissions is Tuesday, October 27th. And I hope that you get a chance to use these. I have a great giveaway prize for the winner. I'm going to pick a random winner and announce that on Thursday, October 29th. I will probably make a video and announce it on my blog, so look out for that. And here I'm going to go into a few still pictures, and I really appreciate you watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let me know of any more requests that you want to see. I have several more videos planned coming up, such as a bookbinding tutorial and hopefully some more mixed media. Oh, here I'm just adding some glossy accents to the antlers, and I do clean up and outline those words in glossy accents too. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great week.